Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. These are the paid requests. This time for Bobby. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a fan film that's on YouTube called Godzilla Battle Royale. That I guess it was about 9 or so years ago. This came out from Rockstar Fan Films. And it's a fan film, but you could tell that there's definitely a lot of heart being put into this. I would say yes, it's very cheap, but at the same time, what do you expect from a Godzilla fan film? The plot is what it is. It's monsters have escaped Monster Island. Monsters like Godzilla, Varan, can't say his name right, Varan. Why can't I say his damn Varan? Anyway, Anguirus, this one called Manda. I'm butchering these names, I know. I do like Godzilla films, but I'm not an expert on them. But there's a bunch of monsters attacking the city. And they get this guy called Matthew James Kennedy, also known as Razor Shark, to drive this new hover jet device that can utilize some of Godzilla's breath radiation when it attacks it to fire back. But a chunk of it is actors who are not that great, talking with other actors. But it's trying to be much of the campy feel of the Showa era of Godzilla films. And like I said, you can tell it's an honor of these type of movies. Like I say there's some heart to it, a lot of heart to it, because you see that all these monsters, they build them with monster suits like you would see back in the day. So all these creatures, people are in these suits and they're attacking these buildings, and yeah, it's a lot of times the fire to show the destruction of the building. You see a lot of this cheaper green screen stuff. But you tell they just really wanted to give a hoot to the audience. Especially when they try to just throw everything in, where you have the two little girls that are with Mothra, and Mothra arrives, and then you realize that the monster's being controlled by aliens. So there's this queen alien who she looks a bit like Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers. And then when they defeat that, a bit of it, so that the monsters are not under their control, they unleash their own monsters like Gaidan and Hedorah, the Swab monster, and a few other ones. This one that had like a shark look to it that could actually talk. I don't know what that creature is. There was even like a zombie Teen Kong that kind of looks like the Kong from Teen Kong Estates, but if his face had a little bit of almost like Kano from Mortal Kombat. And so you got Godzilla fighting Zombie Kong, you got Gaidan fighting Varan, whatever the hell you say his name. And they try to put a little bit of humor at times. There's a bit like Zombie Kong tastes this Dr. Pepper every time and puts it in Godzilla's mouth. There's a bit when Godzilla gets some power. I swear he does like a Stone Cold Stunner on Kong. I kind of wish they pushed even more with that craziness, even more of that type of fighting. But sadly they don't, and there are times that the fighting did feel a bit repetitive because there's so much of it. And at times it's kind of like, okay, they're fighting back and forth and no one is dying, no one is staying down. So it's like, where's the progression? You know, there is no progression going on because they're down, then they get back up. Then they're down, they get back up. And again, it just goes on for so long. When it starts, pretty much the rest of the movie is just this one giant battle royale. So, I mean, there's not a lack of action. I'll give you that. It fits with the title. The guy playing Matthew James Kennedy, he's trying to have a bit of that campy flavor He's fighting another creature. He's like, come on, you sushi dish. It's one that looks like an octopus. There's even a bit that was kind of interesting. It might have been the Smog Monster, but someone like threw something and it created these creatures that were pretty much gray lickers. And then it felt weird for like a minute or two. It became a Resident Evil homage because they look like lickers from Resident Evil, except if they were black or gray instead of red. I went, okay, is that why the guy's name is Matthew James Kennedy, like Leon Kennedy? And then you're hearing music from Resident Evil, and the creatures sound like lickers when you kill the lickers, the shrieks and stuff. You even have someone that looks like Hunk with the gas mask and turns and does the neck break like he does in Resident Evil 4, I believe. I mean, I like Resident Evil, so that was a nice homage. Granted, I felt kind of out of the blue in this Godzilla fan film, but I mean, there are much worse things you could reference, so I guess I was fine with it. It's interesting enough, at one point, they need some type of thing to mess with the sound waves, to mess with the UFO alien stuff. And so they get Akira Takarada to make a cameo. I don't know how they pull this off. Now, granted, it looked like he was in just some suite, and he just maybe had his regular clothes, and he like says a few lines here and there. I guess maybe they took that, then they tried to put their own actors in it. So I don't know if they found some footage or if they paid for a cameo or whatever case. I don't know. But for those who don't know, Akira Takarada, he was a guy, he was one of the stars of the original Gojira from 1954. He was in Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, or Invasion of the Astral Monsters, I think it's called. Forgive me if I'm wrong with that. I always remember more the American title. And he was one of the 3 astronauts. I think he was in Godzilla vs. Mothra as well. I think he played different characters, but he was in those 3. Sadly, that actor has passed away, but it was nice to see him in there. He didn't have a whole lot to do, but I'm like, oh wow, okay, they got him. It was also nice throughout the fan film, they do use some music from other Godzilla stuff. At one point, they used the music from GMK. Dum 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 dum, which I thought was a nice touch, because I do quite like that music. I mean, sure, it would be cool to see more monsters, but again, with the low budget they had, they did have a lot of monsters in there. Some of them I didn't even know who they were, because I'm not an expert on kaiju stuff. Like, I've seen all the Godzilla films. Some of them I've only seen like one time. I do remember liking quite a bit of them, though. But I'm definitely no expert. So yeah, some of these guys I didn't recognize who they were. Or if they're from other kaiju stuff, I wouldn't... maybe those who are more hardcore fans, they would get a bit more out of this. But I mean, the acting isn't that great. Some are... you can tell they're trying to play off a bit more campy. Like I said, the lead guy, Matthew James Kennedy. This other guy, I think his name is Yuri. He's in Mechagodzilla 3, they call it. Who at first is fighting against the monsters, but then it gets controlled by the UFO until they finally mess with it, and then they regain control of it later. And it is ambitious for... Like I said, the backdrop, there's a lot of green screen, so it'll look, cheap. Ambitious in terms of, number one, it being a full-length movie. It's like 90 minutes long. And just the amount of suits that they had. Now, they're not going to look like professional suits, but it's more of just, hey, pick up and go, get whatever you could tape up and put together and put on a show. And that's where I just see some heart to it. Despite all the all the ripped up bolts and tears you just see. I appreciate the hubris, the effort of it. But like I said, the action, I thought it just went on a bit too long, to the point of it seems like we're in the same type of location, of course. It's supposed to take place in Chicago. And this person's fighting this, and they throw him down, and they get back up. And if it was this progression where, okay, this monster died, then this monster died, but then this monster comes into play, and it seems like they won't stop, and all these monsters come, or like some to that effect, where, okay, these monsters, you gotta deal with them, but then some on either side die. Then, okay, more come in and some on either side die, and the numbers dwindle down until maybe it's Godzilla, maybe Godzilla and one other one versus a couple of them. But again, like, none of the good creatures die off or anything, so you didn't really feel much of, like I said, a progression. Now, there is a part, spoiler, where Godzilla looks like he's dead. He gets woken up, saved by Mothra. Mothra gives Godzilla its power. Then it turns to Hyper Godzilla, which is interesting because they then put in a new suit. Probably the most, of the suits they have, is the most articulated suit. And I swear it looks like the suit from GMK, as in modeled after, with the kind of the white eyes. Maybe Godzilla Tokyo SOS, but it looked like GMK with the way the eyes are. I'm like, that has to be on purpose, or it should be, because the Godzilla in GMK is like the most badass Godzilla. And this is where I think they really could have made something where, oh, it's the GMK Godzilla, bring it home, bring in the GMK, dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And now have him kick everybody's ass. He's Hyper Godzilla. He's the, okay, GMK Godzilla is a bad guy in GMK. What if that Godzilla was a good guy? He would kick all the monster asses. And that's what I want to see. You got GMK. Now if GMK is this bad mofo, but he's a good guy. Now have him kick everybody's ass. I thought this was going to happen because there's a crab creature, he like pulls a bit of it apart, and he blasts Hedorah, and the Hedorah kind of is pushed back into another creature. But then that's it. Pretty much, Mothra gets a dome. They all caught in, and Mechagodzilla and Godzilla, and I forget who the other creature was. I didn't recognize them, but they're shooting these blasts, and then this big explosion. I guess they're done. And then the queen turns to like Queen Ghidorah. And then with the help of the guy and his hover jet, the guy named Razor Shark, Matthew James Kennedy, with the help of his hover jet vehicle, him and Godzilla are able to defeat that creature, and then they call it a day. And also Godzilla has his chest blast that he opens up and which, that might have been in a Godzilla film, but I don't remember. You'd have to remind me which Godzilla that is. But yeah, I kind of wish by the end, like, Godzilla would, okay, now he's GMK, now he's going to go on a tear, he's going to kick everybody's ass. He's going to kill this one, tear this one's head off, blah, 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 blah. Sadly, that's not the case. Now, with that said and the nitpicks aside, if you're a Godzilla fan, it's a fan film that, again, I appreciate its ambition. I appreciate the amount. Again, the suit work's not detailed, but hey, they tried, and they put some effort in terms of how lengthy these fights were, and some of the, again, like the one with the stunner. I wish they could even push further into that craziness. in terms of like the fight choreography. I guess what I'm getting at. But again, with the amount of monsters they had and the different type of suits, and there are shots where they have like big crowds of people running for their lives. I'm like, wow, okay, they got some decent crowds here and there, and you know, I do appreciate that. Again, this is definitely trying to have their love letter to something they enjoy, and it might have been done on the cheap. But like I said, I appreciate, and to repeat this one last time, I appreciate the heart that they put into it. I just see that they with the limited resources and the not great acting, they did what they could, and I appreciate it. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.